So Izaak Walton was actually an Englishman in the 1600s, and he wrote the book The Complete Angler, and is credited with popularizing fly fishing. And the book is written kind of as a narrative, and it's about a man who lives in the city but loves to get out into nature. And it's sort of a how-to guide, but written in narrative form in the 1600s. So the Izaak Walton League, the goal of the Izaak Walton League, it was started by group of men in Chicago who lived in the city but loved being outdoors, and they wanted to make sure that the outdoors were accessible for people, especially for recreation like hunting and fishing and hiking and things like that. So it's conservation, but for the sake of being able to enjoy the outdoors. There's about 50,000 Ikes. That's what members of Izaak Walton League are called Ikes. About 50,000 across the country. There's about 5,000 in Maryland across the state. And there's a lot of them are engaged for shooting sports. So a lot of the chapters have a chapter house, and they often have a range of some sort, whether it's archery or whether it's a pistol range or something, or a skeet range or something like that. So it all goes with the things you have to do outdoors, right? It's all a part of the types of activities that go on outdoors. So, we call it Bolingbroke Park. It's about 55 acres. It's got a little under 2 miles worth of trails. We have a pavilion that can hold about 100 people. We're off the grid, so we don't have electric all the time, but we have a generator, we have a deep well, and we have a septic system. So we have 2 ADA bathrooms there for when folks have events. We also have a kayak launch that was built by some of the members, and we have an archery range. So the things that we do every single year is we give a lot of scholarships. Over the last 25 years or so, we've given about $80,000 in scholarships to undergraduate and graduate students at the Horn Point Lab for their studies. This is across all the local counties. And we have monthly dinner meetings, and then we have been trying to do open houses, and we try to do something in the fall and something in the spring. We have a whole bunch of mountain laurel that surrounds our pavilion. It's really beautiful. So usually late May we have an open house. And this year we decided we were going to do an outdoor skills day and open house, so people can come and learn about kayaking and kayak safety. They can learn about archery. They can learn about orienteering. So basically following a map in the woods with a compass and following a maze in the woods with a compass and a map. And then we have forest bathing, which is sort of like being mindful in the forest, sort of finding peace in nature and things like that. For this year, what's really neat is we're doing it in conjunction with the 75th birthday of the Talbot County chapter, which is now known as the Midshore chapter. Yeah, so the chapter was started in 1949 by a group of individuals. By the end of that year, there was one person who had been a member had been a member at a chapter in Chevy Chase, Maryland, but spent a lot of time on the shore and wanted to do the same thing here. So he, by the end of the year, had about 48 members and about $250 in the bank. By 1958, they had acquired the property down in Trapp called Bolingbroke Park on Money Make Road. 1962, I believe, the pavilion was built, had upgrades over the years. In the early 2000s, the well was dug and the generator installed, and the ADA bathrooms were built and things like that. We have 7 kayaks that are for use for members. So if you become a member of the Izaak Walton League Midshore chapter, there's a gate and there's a kayak shed that has a combination lock on it. We give you the combination lock. You can use those anytime you want. We have PFDs, we have paddles, everything is there. So 4 of those kayaks are, 6 of the kayaks are sit inside. We have 1 double kayak that's a sit on top. The launch was built by members, but it's set up so that it's kind of a U-shaped launch, so you can set the kayak in. It's meant to be a little bit easier to get into. We're way up the creek, so you got to kind of watch the tides. You can't, if you try to go out in low tide, you're pretty much going to be paddling through mud. But most of the rest of the time, it's you can get out and go right under the bridge, and you're right out in Bolingbroke Creek. You can paddle out It's a short ride to get out to the mouth of the Bolingbroke Creek, where you can see the Choptank River Bridge and stuff like that. So we're advocates for the soil, water, and land in the state. So the Izaak Walton League, the National Izaak Walton League, actually does a lot of lobbying for conservation purposes. They're really promoting the Farm Bill now. So they do a lot of advocacy in Washington towards the types of things that would support outdoor recreation and people's access to outdoor recreation. So anything conservation related. Over the years, the Izaak Walton League itself is about 100 years old, just a little over 100 years old. It was started in 1922. They are credited in a lot of places with a large part of getting the Clean Water Act and Clean Air Act passed in Congress. So that's the kind of things that they do.